and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyper-Conscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we sat down and talked about what you need to unlearn in order to succeed.
Oh, yeah.
Today, for episode number 429, we are going to talk about why you have not learned the lesson you need to yet. 429 episodes.
I was just going to say that.
Why? I remember when we did 400. It's crazy.
Crazy. We're already almost a third to 500.
Yeah, it's wild.
All right, so why you haven't learned the lesson yet. So David Meltzer is a coach of ours.
Yes.
And he basically says that whenever you're in pain, it's because you haven't learned the lesson yet. And that pain is an indicator that something needs to change, either in your perception or your behavior. And so there are 5 different categories of pain that he talks about: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or financial. And I think that all of us are going to always... I'll just bring some context here. I remember I asked Emilia, can you grow without challenge? And she immediately said no. And I said, can you have challenge without pain, without some pain? She said no. And I said, okay, so why are we avoiding the one thing that really does bring all of the growth? And I remember Lori Harder had a TED Talk, and she talked about this simple formula that's so profound if you really think about it. Time under tension plus the weight of the load equals strength. So if you look at your podcast agency, for example, you just gained a bunch of new clients.
I did.
That's awesome. Now it's like, okay.
It's called Podstrong.
Just
throw that out there.
Podstrong, Kevin Palmieri, Jeff podcast
Perfect.
agency.
Yep, just
perfect.
yep,
Great plug, right?
Yeah, there
Solid.
you go.
So you got a bunch of new clients, and that's awesome, and that's huge success. The indicator that you're succeeding is actually more challenge. Now it's like, how do I serve all these clients with excellence?
Yes.
And so the time under tension, in other words, how long can you be under that pressure? And then what do you do about that pressure so that you can continue to elevate? And so basically, Kevin has to figure out how to hire more people, how to delegate more effectively, how to focus more on the top leverage points for his business. And so time under tension plus the weight of the load equals strength. And if you aren't learning the lesson, you're going to stay where you are, basically.
It's why I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to build 2 businesses at the same time. It's like this weird thing. One of the main things when it comes to this, there's so many ways we could go, right? So many ways we could go. But where do I want to go? For me, a couple times this has happened, right? Like a year and a half ago, I came to Alan and said, yo, I'm sick of being broke. I'm sick of being a broke entrepreneur, right? I don't want to do this anymore. The first time was Christmas 2 years ago when we were in Florida.
Was that this past year? Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
So at that point...
2 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However long ago in days, hours, minutes, seconds that was. I had never done coaching at that point.
Yeah.
That was never even an idea. But I didn't really have an idea of how I was going to make money with a podcast at that point. Right? So the lesson was, okay, right now you don't have a sustainable income. Things in the business are starting to pile up. Like, you're doing this full time. Now you have the ability to travel. You're living in Florida. You're going to Brendan Burchard events. You know, you have living expenses. You have business expenses. Like, the LLC was $600.
Yeah.
You know, all of that stuff. And the lesson I didn't learn then. I got clients, but then I ended up getting comfortable with the clients I had, and I stopped pushing.
Right.
Fast forward a little bit, happens again. Like, I'm sick of living where I'm at in terms of finances. And then it finally locks in eventually of like, okay, well, you have to get good at sales. The lesson isn't that you're broke. It isn't that you don't have enough clients. The lesson is you have not learned the skill or learned the habit or learned the knowledge or unlearned the thing in order to take you to the next level. And we have somebody in our life that has been going through that. Like, there's a difference between being broke and not knowing how to provide your services yet. Right? And you could very easily take out a loan. You could very easily go get a job. You could very easily ask somebody for money. But those are not answers to... That's not the lesson.
Right.
The lesson is you have to get better at sales. You have to get better at business. Okay? In a relationship, for example, your temper flares, you yell at your partner leaves. What's the lesson? you might say that person was crazy. Like
Right.
it wasn't going to work anyway. If it happens again,
Wrong lesson.
wrong lesson.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. If it happens again, you have the opportunity to learn the lesson again. If you don't learn the lesson, it's going to keep coming back over and over and over. And I think so many people, they probably don't take ownership of it and say, like, what is there to learn here? I told somebody that recently. Every time I'm like in pain or I'm in struggle, part of me is almost a little bit excited because it's like there's definitely something to learn here.
Oh, we did that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal.
And the beautiful, it was very difficult. But the beautiful thing is when you learn that, in theory, that will never happen again.
That same thing.
Yeah, it'll
Right.
happen on a different level. But like if you're,
or it'll happen again, but you'll know how to overcome it.
Yeah,
Because
you'll never be, if you're broke, you won't be broke for the same reason,
Right.
hopefully, if
Right.
you do it correctly. So it's just, it's a very interesting thing. And I think a lot of people either focus on the pain or they live in the pain instead of taking the lesson out of it and then, doing something positive with the lesson.
So there's two Kevins.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin 1 and Kevin 2.
Yeah.
Kevin 1 has a podcast agency called Pod Strong.
Yep.
And decides that he wants to elevate his new normal of income.
Sure.
See what I did there?
no, I
There's
do.
a plug from the last episode.
That was very good. Very good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That was very good. I almost didn't catch it. That's how smooth it was.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So Kevin 1 decides to elevate his new normal of income and decides to make $10,000 a month cash flow in the Hyperconscious podcast business as well as the Pod Strong business. Okay? And one feeds the other. Okay, awesome. Kevin 2 says, I'm broke, the economy is bad, and says, okay, I want to make more income. I can't afford a home yet, and I want one. And just decides to say, well, the pandemic, though. Like, I don't think, I just have to wait. I have to wait. Okay. Kevin 1 decides, you know what? Alan, my business partner, has a sales background, and I need to learn how to sell finally. I need to learn how to do this prospecting, networking, finding the right clients, making sure my value is there, making sure I have my tier structure so that it is giving good options that people desperately need. So instead of selling people, I'm going to learn how to help more people. Okay, and I'm going to go to someone who has the skills that I need and has learned the lesson. And I'm going to master sales. That's Kevin 1. Kevin 1 will never be broke again as long as he doesn't forget that and really continues to master sales. Okay, and once he gets to $10,000 a month, then he's going to learn how to get to 15, then eventually 20, then 25, and then he's going to learn how to use that cash flow to get closer to his dreams. Kevin 2 is going to keep blaming external circumstances. And it really is that. And so let's use fitness because it's more relatable to everybody. Okay, person 1 and person 2. Person 2 says, the food industry is terrible, and I don't really like water, and weight training's not for me, and I just haven't found my thing yet, and my genetics are bad, and I'm big boned, and like my environment doesn't support me, and I don't have enough money for the gym, and the commute's too far. And the first person just says, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being out of shape. I want to finally have control over my own physique. And they just say, okay, I'm going to get a mentor. And they go and they talk to someone who's mastered that arena. They go to a training. We're doing one tonight on fitness.
Yes.
And they finally, they learn the game. They learn how to track calories. They learn how to track their water intake. They learn how to use MyFitnessPal. They learn how to weight train. And they just decide, I'm going to master this thing. They'll be in shape for the rest of their life as long as they want to, versus the other person will actually never be in shape. And that's the thing. Like, if you're in pain because you dislike your physique, what if the lesson is learning, I need to learn how to have a better physique?
I would argue that it is. I think if you're lacking something, I mean, you can change your perception and say like, well, I don't really need that, or I think you should love yourself. Yeah, of course, right? Of course. But also maybe the lesson is, look, it's time to take your health more seriously. If you have a heart attack, there's a couple of ways, like you could say like, oh, I have bad genetics. Right? Or maybe the lesson is, well, maybe I should start taking my health more seriously. Maybe I should be getting more sleep. Maybe I should be drinking more water. Maybe I should be exercising, not eating as much crap food. Right? There's lessons in everything. It's whether or not you choose to take them.
I know.
It's whether or not you choose to take them. Now, the problem is a lot of times the lessons are hard. Excuses are easy to make. Changes are not. It's hard to make change because it requires you to learn something. Like what happened when I wanted to learn more about sales? I dove into sales. Like I listened to a 5.5-hour audiobook in 2 days, right? I hammered it everywhere I was going. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to learn about this. But what also happened was I took the lesson And then I paid attention to it, right? Everybody who messages me about podcasting is now a potential opportunity for me to help them and thus help myself. The lesson was you have to start being more serious about this. And I think that there's lessons everywhere for people.
I know.
And it's just a matter, like if you guys are watching this or listening to this, I assume that you're the type of person who maybe you don't take full ownership yet, but you want to. Think about the last time something hurt you. Did you sit down and say like, okay, what actually happened there? I got too drunk and then I did this thing. What is the lesson there? Maybe you're drinking more than you should be.
Right.
Okay.
You also have a choice in everything.
Right.
You have a choice. What if you got hurt by someone else who was drunk? You still chose to be around drunk people. And that's the thing that I think we get tripped up on. There are external circumstances that hurt us.
For sure.
But we chose to be in that environment. You know, it's like, well, there was traffic and there was construction. So I was late. It's like, yeah, but like, you can't control that. So don't focus on that. I could use that excuse forever. Kev, there was traffic today. There was construction today. I was almost late today. And I refused, even though there was construction. I refuse now. I won't use that as an excuse because I'm smart enough to know that construction happens during the summer, right? Grow up, Alan. Like, leave earlier. I, as a matter of fact, had something I wanted to get done, and the old me would have literally stayed in my room and gotten that done first. And instead I said, no, if you have extra time in the parking lot, you'll do it there before you get into the studio. And I was on time by like a minute, not even. And so I'm working on that. But that's the thing. Like I could have been late for the rest of my life instead of looking in that mirror and going, you know, this is something I need to change. This is something I want to change. This is something I choose to change. I talk often about how it took me 5 years to quit drinking. And I finally did it. And I'm now 427 days sober, something along those lines. And it's like, it's unreal. I was around a lot of drinking this past weekend and I didn't drink. And it's like, the life I live now is so different than what my life was once. And I finally learned that lesson through pain. If something's causing you pain, there's a lesson.
How do you know what the lesson is? Like, what is for you, what is the process of searching for the lesson and kind of like digging through the excuses or digging through the circumstances or digging through the blame, or how do you find it?
Instead of looking at all the things of like why this happened, I think the first thing is identifying the root cause of the issue. What's the common denominator? So the common denominator of me being late was me. I'll tell a quick story, and this is a vulnerable one for me, and it's actually really hard to say, but I'm just going to say it because I think it's going to help everybody. So I told you about that Christmas Eve where I was shotgunning beers in the basement, okay? I had one beer, one turned into two turned into four turned into 8. I had 8 beers within an hour on Christmas Eve with a buddy of mine. And it was actually my sister's ex-fiance. And we were having fun. It is what it is. No big deal. Like, and again, even that is me lessening it. But we were fun and playful. Like, it wasn't like we were trying to hurt anybody or do anything negative. Here's the problem. My mom and sister got in a fight, and I wasn't sober enough to mitigate and to mediate that fight. And so I unintentionally ended up really ruining Christmas Eve, and it really caused me a ton of pain because I know how much my mom and sister value Christmas, and personally, I don't care that much about the holidays, but I know they do, and they matter to me, and if I love them, then what they care about matters to me. And that's another lesson that I've learned over the years. And so recently, on my mom's 60th, my mom and sister got in another fight, but guess what? Alan was sober, and I was able to mediate that, and literally, like, we were good, and they were good, and I was able to really help, you know? And so, is it my fault that my mom and sister got in a fight on that Christmas Eve? No, but it is my responsibility to be in a resourceful enough state to where I can actually make a positive difference. And when I woke up that next morning and was hungover and just feeling terrible about myself, and this was many years ago, I decided, okay, what's the lesson? I have to overcome this drinking thing. Like, I don't need to be this way anymore. I'm sick and tired of that. And so it took me so long and so many mistakes, but I finally got to the point where I was around drinking the entire night for my mom's 60th birthday, my 60th birthday, my mom's 60th birthday.
You look good.
Thanks, man, for 60. Yeah, you know, going, not bad. Did I tell you about the skin cream? So, and I was around alcohol that whole evening, and everyone was having fun. It was a good time. I didn't drink, and then my mom and sister got into it, and I was there for them. I was there for both of them, and we were good. And they were good. And I'm just super proud of that. And I finally learned the lesson, you know? And this weekend, same deal. I was around alcohol and I didn't drink and I was there for people. And that's my choice. So whatever it is out there that's caused you tremendous pain, alcohol has caused me tremendous pain. And that's my own fault and also, you know, just in general. And anyone who's out there listening who's been around a lot of alcohol, I'm sure you've seen some pretty negative things, you know, be said or be done. And when the pain is great enough, you will finally learn the lesson. But it doesn't have to get to the point where it's like so bad and so traumatic. You can learn the lesson when it's a little lesson, you know?
I think as long as you face it and you don't run further into the problem. Like you very easily could have said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get drunk tonight because like it's Christmas. Like I wrecked Christmas Eve. I'm just going to get hammered tonight.
I know.
Right? Like I think that's something that one of the most common things, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I see this time and time again in relationships. Time and time again. People will be with somebody who doesn't respect them, who doesn't treat them super well, and they'll blame, and again, and I understand this, I've done this in the past, they'll blame the person. Is it the person's fault? To some degree, yes. But you get what you accept. You accepted that. The lesson isn't, well, I was with a bad person. The lesson is I keep inviting people into my life who are going to take advantage of me. And that's like the hard truth. It is the hard truth, but it's true. I've seen that so many times. So many times. Hindsight is 20/20. So when you start asking the questions of like, well, when did you guys get together? Well, I was pretty low and the person was pretty low. Okay. You weren't vibrating at your highest vibration. It's the only reason you even attracted this person into your life in the first place. Would you be with that person now knowing what you know? No. Okay, well, I think hindsight's 20/20, so most people would probably think that.
Right.
But you can blame the other person or you can take responsibility for the fact that, look, I have this theme, this running theme. If you have a running theme in your life, it means there's a lesson there that you just haven't learned yet.
I know.
And it starts with ownership. I tell this story all the time. When I was with my ex-girlfriend, we lived together, she left me. For a long time, I blamed her. Oh, yeah, she's crazy. She's blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not true. She's not crazy. She just did her thing, and I couldn't take responsibility for it. My lesson was you have to stop being so goddamn insecure and holding on to people and let them go when they want to do their thing, right? That was my thing. And, like, I learned that lesson, and, you know, that's something I try to lean on every day and make sure that I'm still... But it was up to me to look in the mirror. You can blame until you're blue in the face. But if you're blaming, you're not learning.
Right.
I don't know if you can do them at the same time.
I don't think you can. Because one is your point.
Sticker.
If you're blaming, you're not learning. It's true because you're pointing to something outside of yourself which you can't necessarily change.
Right. And you don't have to. If I blame you, why did the Hyperconscious podcast fail? It's not going to, but why did the Hyperconscious Alan, fucking ego on that kid.
Right.
Like he just you know, this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
Well, that's probably not the problem. The problem is, what were you doing?
Right.
What was Jeff doing? what were you doing?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Weren't you like sleeping in all the time? Yeah, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was Alan.
Right.
That
wasn't the issue. It wasn't the fact that it was 11 a.m. on a Tuesday.
You're getting high.
And I'm getting a high. Yeah.
But I mean, and that's just an example. Pardon my French. I said the F word. I don't usually say that. But honestly, that's where a lot of people go. Yeah. Like a lot of people will blame.
It's easier in the moment.
Yeah. And honestly, it is. It is easier in the moment. It's actually easier almost all the time until you fix the problem.
Right.
It's easy to say like, well, you know, that client is just, he didn't want to buy from me. Versus saying like, oh, well, did you actually speak in language that appealed to them? Right? Oh, that person, you know, I don't know. It didn't work out. That person was crazy. Like they, you know, after a while, like the intimacy went out the window, blah, blah, blah. What did you do to affect that? Like, did you do something to affect that? Right? So I just think at the end of the day, a lot of this is ownership. But if you find yourself in a pattern that is repeating over and over and over and you feel like you're out of control, it's probably because you have not focused on the lesson. You're focusing on the problem.
So one of the questions I've been asking myself, my clients, Emilia, and you lately as well. I also asked Amy this recently. What is the universe teaching you?
Oh, wow.
So what is the universe teaching you right now in terms of a lesson? Like what's a pain in your life and then what's the lesson?
For me, it was sales. Genuinely.
Right.
Genuinely. It was... and I've been asking my clients this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can make money on your own with nobody's help, not working at a job? Like, you have the ability to make money by yourself. And for me, like, a year ago, that was like a 1 or a 2. Now it's 8 or 9. Like, I feel very good.
Good.
I feel very good.
Awesome.
But I've also put a lot of work into that.
Right.
I put a lot of work into that. So I would say for me, it's that. What about you? Before you hammer me another question. What's a lesson? Yeah, what's a lesson that you
What's
need
a
to learn?
pain in my life? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual.
It's getting pretty warm in here.
And
which is a
financial.
pain.
I'll give you one that I recently So the hyperconscious team had a give up list, and I have not had fast food since.
I was thinking about that today.
Since that, and Emilia and I were in the car on our way home from the gym last night, and she's like, "I've noticed your energy shift a little bit since you've started eating cleaner," and it has been inconvenient, and honestly, it has been challenging, I will say, because fast food, for those of you who aren't super into fitness, I track my calories. I make sure I'm hitting a certain number of calories every single day, and I fast often throughout the day. And so after my workout, it's very convenient to eat quick food that has high calories, especially when my goal is to hit 200 pounds. And so what I've done is now I've gone to because I made a hard line in the sand and said I'm not going to eat fast food, and I committed to the team. We had a give up list. One of them was...
I conveniently missed that call.
Yeah, you were not on that call, so it was me, Amy, and Tiff. But I haven't had fast food once. Now, what I will say is I've had Subway, and I had Subway cookies. I've also... so the other day I was in the convenience store. There's a Dunkin' Donuts in this convenience store, Kev. And you know I used to hammer donuts before the gym sometimes. The one right next to Impact. I don't know what one. Respect. But I ended up having Quest cookies, which have really good macros instead of Dunkin' Donuts. Now,
really good macros. They taste like cardboard.
They do taste like cardboard. They're not good, no. But whatever. And so, and it was more expensive. It was less tasty, but I was proud of myself because I drew that hard line in the sand. And so, one thing I will say is a pain that I had for a while was basically I wanted to help people with fitness, but based on their beliefs of the way they saw me eat, it was shutting them off from my teachings because they assumed that I was doing something they couldn't do. When people see you eating fast food and see you in shape, they go, "Oh, not for me."
If they've seen any of the last 100 episodes, they haven't seen Jeff in shape.
Right.
I'm coming for it.
Coming for it. And so that caused me a lot of pain because Emilia and I talked about it. It's like we're not leading by example. We're not doing what other people believe we should be doing, and therefore they're shutting off to our other teachings. And so her and I made a commitment that we're going to cook more food, we're going to eat clean, and I'm not going to eat fast food, and I stuck to that. Last thing I'll say is what's a lesson that a pain in my life now and a lesson.
Sure.
Here's the pain. Not using cash flow to buy myself time is a huge mistake in my opinion. And it caused me a lot of pain because I'm always working and I don't have enough room in my life to do the top leverage points that I think would help the team grow. And so now the lesson is use cash flow to get towards your dreams and invest it in the things that will help buy you back time. And I'll give a quick example for those listening. One of my clients just hired a chef for $200 a week. He can now take that 15 hours not prepping his own meals and put it into coding for $1,500. So that's a net $1,300 by hiring a chef. And so that's one example of using cash flow to work for you and buying back time. And that's the lesson I desperately needed to learn.
I'm right, dude. I want to get my meals delivered.
Yeah.
I want my groceries to get delivered.
Yep.
I'm very much working towards all of that right now because I don't enjoy that stuff very much.
Right.
I don't enjoy that.
And it takes away from the business we're trying to grow.
It does. Anything else?
I think we should do 10-second blips.
10-second blips. I do not know if you can blame and learn at the same time.
That's fire.
A wise man once said, I think it was Shania Twain. A wise woman once said, I think it was Shania Twain.
What did she say?
Don't know if you can learn and point fingers at the same time. In her 1998 hit, The Best Thing About Being a Woman.
Wait, are you serious?
No, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Everything I just said is completely made up. But Shania Twain is an amazing country artist.
Yeah, definitely. My 10-second blip.
Really went off the rails there.
Stop hating pain. It's actually working for you if you can learn the lessons. How do
Kick it over to me. Kick it over to me.
Kick it over.
Kick it over to the kid.
Okay,
Unplug and kick it over to the kid.
You can't grow without challenge. You can't have challenge without some pain. Learn from pain. I think some people use pain, I think, to drive them. Other people get used by pain. Make sure you're on the right side of that ledger.
Boom. Guys, if I was to ask you what is the biggest thing you're struggling with right now, I actually did a poll in Hyperconscious Nation recently. Most people said building relationships. I think it's probably most often, but especially now with COVID where people aren't allowed or able to see other people. If you are looking to meet people who are into personal development, who are into growth, who are into talking about the stuff that actually matters, Hyperconscious Nation and our masterminds every Monday at 6 p.m. are the place for you. We actually had a great idea from Natalie, the newest member of our team, that we should open it up a half hour early and let people just go in and talk. And then we show up at 6. Everybody's built rapport. They've talked. They've shared messages. So every Monday at 6 p.m., we might change that to 5:30 for you guys. But every single Monday, we are going to have a place where you guys can talk to other people. You can network. You can build relationships. You can talk about your services. If you're feeling lonely, if you're trying to find people that are like you, we are building that community, and we would love to have you.
Folks, I can tell you from experience that if you're looking to start a podcast, Kevin's your guy. He knows more about podcasting than anyone I know, literally. And we do know a lot of podcasters, but he is the guy. He's done the production for 430, going on 430
Over
episodes.
500, including clients.
Over 500.
Over 500.
In terms of the mastery, that's a lot of reps. That's a lot of fail forward. That's a lot of learning. He's paid the dummy tax for sure, and we kind of have as a team as well, and definitely hire him. If you want to start a show, like, you're going to be so much better off with him. Seriously. For me, if you want to scale your impact and your profitability online, I'm your guy. So, peak performance. If you want an ordinary life, I am not the coach for you. If you want extraordinary, I am going to help you learn what it really takes to get there, and I'm going to help you stay accountable every single day. Yesterday, I had a 38.75% day, and it was a very difficult day for productivity because I got very little solitude, but at least I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of what I need to do to pivot. If you want to live a life of peak performance like that, I am your guy. I've got you. If you want to grow and scale your business online, I've got you. And we have free 30-minute calls. Go to the hyperconsciouspodcast.com. We have a coaching tab, Kevin and myself, and you can book a call. And it's a clarity call. We're going to help you get exactly clear on where you are today, where you want to be, and we're going to help you get there.
Believe it or not, Alan is the man who introduced me to the system of success. So I was not a numbers guy before Alan, and he has definitely impacted me and the business tremendously. Without him, we would be floating down the river somewhere. So I would definitely say get on a call with him because he is going to blow your mind and change your life in just 30 minutes. We hope you enjoyed this, and we will talk to you on Sunday.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.